another foundering car now from the ZC33S, Suzuki Swift Sport, for those that are not into the codes. And I also will compare it to my ABARTH 595 Turismo that I got. So this is a 2021 model, the Suzuki Swift, and the ABARTH is a 2015 model. And I will compare it, show you what's similar and also what's better in one car or the other. So you might already know my Suzuki Swift Sport quite a bit, and the ABARTH is a little bit newer, so I will tell you first why I got it. So I wanted a car that gave a little bit of the convertible cabrio feel, but still could seat 4 people, because I'm a father of 2 children and I have a wife. So you need at least a 2+2 configuration. And then I also wanted something that was a little bit additional, because the Suzuki Swift Sport is already a very nice hot hatch. ABARTH also makes very nice hot hatches. And there were some other contenders, and I will just note them off. I looked at the Pluriel, C3 Pluriel of Citroën, but I don't like the looks that much. I also think it's rubbish that they have these pillars that you can remove, because you can never stick them somewhere. And it makes the car a lot less rigid, which is rigidity is good for turning into corners, etc., and also crash protection. So no Pluriel. There's also Citroën the DS3, which also comes in the cabrio, similar to the ABARTH, but I think the DS3 is a faster type of car, but for a convertible feel I don't think that you need that much speed, so that's one. So the DS3 cabrio, I know that they also have racing in the coupe form, so the normal hatchback, and I don't know that they have that with the cabrio. But even so, I think that they offer a cabrio with 155 horsepower, which is not as fast as the ABARTH. And why is that? The ABARTH comes with 160 horsepower and it's a lot lighter. Also, I think it's much more special branding type of car. DS is now also a separate brand, so it could be that they also have their own niche. But I think ABARTH is just a lot more special, even though it's just a rebadged Fiat 500 with a lot of additional things into it. Another thing is that I like the sound of an ABARTH very much. ABARTH has a really good soundtrack. Also, they made a lot of exhaust systems, so they are very good at that. And now that we are on the verge that we go to electric, I wanted to celebrate this internal combustion engine one more time. And the ABARTH is a lot lighter. So also the DS3 seats up to 4 people, I think, in the convertible configuration. Maybe even 5. Then the DS3 is a lot more roomier. It's a class higher. The DS3 could be more compared to this Suzuki Swift Sport. And there's also a Mini that you could look into, but they have 2 seats that are very cramped, and they also, when once the roof is closed in the Mini convertible, you have extremely little room at the back. And my children are already in the teenage years, so it's very hard for them to just be there and sit comfortably. Whereas with the ABARTH you still have the 500 functionality, because this is all capped and you only have the sliding roof. So that's it in a nutshell. And also the ABARTH came with an automatic. My wife likes automatics a lot more, and this has this flipper system as well at the back of the steering wheel, so that can make the interaction very nice. A little bit like the 911 GT3 RS that I drove, which also had this flipper system in the as a functionality. So I liked it a lot. The additional benefit is also that you could have more functionality if someone has trouble shifting all the time, or you have an injury that makes it harder for you to shift. So that's it in a nutshell. And also the ABARTH came with leather seats and the special feel of the ABARTH. Also all those badges, I think it's perfect. Then why would you get an ABARTH if you already have another 1.4 liter turbo hot hatch like the Suzuki Swift Sport? Good question. The ABARTH gave this functionality of convertible, which this car does not, and also a lot more sound. This sounds already very good, but it's even a little bit better, and it looks very classy. So if you want the car to keep with this car, this is almost the lightest, if not the lightest, sporting cabrio that you could get. That's the reason why I got the ABARTH. So then, what's the purpose of this Suzuki Swift Sport if you already have an ABARTH? Suzuki Swift is one segment higher, so a roomier car, a lot more practical, so to say, and a true hatchback, so you can move bigger items with the Suzuki Swift Sport, and also when you pick up, for example, the children, this is a lot more roomy and also easier, especially when it's raining. You don't. The ABARTH is a two-door and has a sedan-like trunk. This is a 5-door, so you have four doors at the front and one at the back for a complete hatch. And also, if people need to get in or out of the car, this can be a lot more quick in the Suzuki Swift Sport as compared to the ABARTH. Also, Suzuki Swift Sport is extremely reliable. Suzuki's and Japanese cars in general are very reliable. Also come with a lot of warranty out of the fabric, so that's a good thing to have, in my opinion. Whereas ABARTHs are Italian cars. I'm not saying that they are unreliable, but there's a different level of reliability. Also, it's an older car. This is a quite new car. Last point, the Suzuki Swift Sport has a lot of functionality added to it. So you have a reverse camera. ABARTH only has parking sensors, and it also has cruise control, which ABARTH does not have. It also has anti-collision warnings, also the side collision warnings at the back, and you have a 6-speed manual, which I like a lot, so you have both. Another thing to consider with the Suzuki Swift Sport is that you get better gas mileage, but yeah, of course it will be more expensive to keep two cars than just one. So that is just something to consider for your own. If you would tune both cars, so the Turismo 160 horsepower, this starts with 129 horsepower, but if you tune them, they both go towards 170, 180 horsepower. Also, both go to about 300 Newton meters. I think on average the ABARTH will have in the stage 1 tune a little bit more Newton meters, and the Suzuki Swift Sport might get a little bit more horsepower. It's a funny thing, because it already has 160 horsepower as claimed by ABARTH, so it's not that much to be gained there. It's the same gain that you get with the 135, 140 horsepower ABARTH engines. So this is those are a little bit detuned as compared to the 160, you could say, or the 160 already has quite a chip tune. A benefit, however, on the ABARTH, that it has two chips, so two ECU systems steering the computer. So you have your normal economy, comfort setting, and then you have the sport button, and then you get additional boost level especially, and also you get higher revs until the the red line appears, and also when the automatic is shifting, if you do put it in automatic mode. ABARTH comes with a 5-speed MTA, which is a robotized manual, so to say, but it does it in an automatic way, but you can still flipper and shift with these flippers behind the steering column. What to say? If you look at the performance, of course the ABARTH starts standard with more horsepower, although the 160 horsepower is not always reached. Sometimes they only have 145 or 150 horsepower in reality, but a chip tune can then solve that again. But if you would tune them to the same horsepower, then the Suzuki Swift Sport will be faster. And why is that? Because the segment higher, it should be a heavy car. Also battery acid in it, should be heavier, but it is not heavier. It's about 70-ish kilograms lighter than the ABARTH convertible, which is still only marginally more heavy than the normal regular ABARTH. With many a cabrio convertible you get a lot of additional weight, sometimes 200 kilograms or 300 kilograms can be added for the complex facilities, and they also have to stiffen everything. But with ABARTH you have the remaining construction intact. You only have a roof that slides very deeply and then folds away with the back window, so to say, the rear window. So if you consider that the Swift Sport is lighter and you get similar horsepower, you can imagine that you get better acceleration times. Another thing to consider is that the MTA of ABARTH is a little bit slower than a manual, also a little bit heavier. Not that much again, but it is a little bit heavier. And in manual mode you can shift a lot faster with those flippers, of course, but if you let automatic do it itself, it will also disrupt the engine longer than you would do if you would shift in the Swift Sport. And the Swift Sport also comes with 6-gear ratio, so you can have a closer power band. Engines are quite similar. The funny thing is, normally Japanese engines are more revvy, but this Swift Sport engine is a little bit less revvy as compared to the ABARTH engine, which is a funny thing. ABARTH comes also with a BMC air filter system and a record Monza exhaust. This comes with the HKS exhaust, so I think that also will settle a lot. And also the BMC filter is just part of the Turismo package. The record Monza is normally not delivered on the standard on the Turismo, but this is on the Competizione, which is normally a little bit faster. But in the generation that I got the ABARTH, so in the later generation, Competizione is like 180 horsepower, and Turismo is like 165, but now the Turismo is like 160, and also the Competizione in this generation that I got the ABARTH of. So that's it, I think, in a nutshell. So for practical drives, I would recommend still the Swift Sport. Also, I like the driving engagement of the manual transmission. But with the flippers, ABARTH is such a hoot and such a nice car. So for nice trips, also with the hood, with the roof down, you have such a nice experience. It feels like you're at the beach with a lot of wind blowing through your hair, and also the sun is shining on you. It's a very nice experience. And oftentimes when the beach is blowing that hard, you don't get that much sun, but with the driving wind you get that. And I also really liked the B-tone color. So it has the ABARTH is black on top, and then separated by a red line, and then below that is again white. I really like that. And why the Turismo instead of the Competizione of the generation? Now the horsepower are similar. I could get the Turismo also with the record Monza exhaust, so also that benefit is there. And the Turismo is a little bit more luxurious, so it's better for long trips, etc. I do quite a lot of long trips, so you also gain that. And the suspension is also upgraded, like the Competizione, but a little bit less harsh. And already ABARTHs are quite harshly damped, so that's the thing why I did that. So for a convertible, I don't think you should need the most purest and performance derivative translation of that generation of ABARTH in this case, because if you would get that, you would go for the manual in my opinion, and also the Competizione in the coupe, so not the cabrio version of the 595C. And yeah, that's it, I think. A cabrio should be a little bit comfortable as long as it can be. It should still steer very nicely, because then you have all the interaction. And I think for me the ABARTH will not be about outright performance. It should be a nice side product, and it has quite a good performance. It has very nice performance, I might add. But it's more for me something that is an experience. You want to have maximized experience, and therefore also the record Monza exhaust, the leather interior, the red accents also in the interior, and the roof that can slide down, so that you have the convertible experience, which adds enormous amount of benefit without sacrificing a lot, because it has a lot of the functionality. If you would have the hoods closed at the back, where the trunk closed, and then you have something that separates the trunk with the window, then the amount of room that you can fit into this ABARTH 595C is the same as with the 595 non-convertible. Only the mount is so that you don't have the hatchback functionality that you can lift it entirely, so you have a narrow mount of the trunk. So that's the limitation, especially. And with that you get a convertible roof, and which I think you might in some conditions be able to carry bigger stuff in the ABARTH convertible than in the ABARTH non-convertible. Why is that? If you open the roof, you can fit in quite big items just on the back seat. And also the backseat passengers have the same functionality and even more headroom, especially if you open the roof. Foundering Car is closing this little video. I hope you really like it. I'm a performance car enthusiast, so perhaps my opinion will help you a lot if you have a similar affiliation. Foundering Car, out!